The final trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was filled with 3 minutes and 54 seconds of goodness, and some of those seconds were set on the surface of Hyrule. So we booted up Breath of the Wild to see how some of those areas compare, and there are quite a few major differences between them. Starting with the first area Link lands, which is just around Whistling Hill, where the camera tilts towards the horizon. When we compare these areas between games, we see that Tears of the Kingdom's version has rubble from the Sky Islands placed on the ground, which we'll see a lot of in the rest of this footage. And of course, the shrine is no longer there, instead being replaced by an object we've seen in previous footage that usually has a green swirly thing on top of it. Here it doesn't have one though. Why is that? Well, we've theorized that this object could act as a replacement for shrines, so maybe the green swirl goes away after completing it. Also, the fact that it's placed where a shrine used to be only adds to the theory. Also on the pathway, there's some kind of man-made structure, which might be part of Hyrule's reconstruction, and there's a new Bokoblin camp near the intersected pathways. But let's focus on what lies ahead, as the Sheikah Tower and Divine Beast Vanaburis are expectedly gone. But what's more interesting is that the geography appears to have changed, as this rocky formation on the left is completely missing from Tears of the Kingdom, suggesting that some of Hyrule is indeed floating in the air along with the Sky Islands. And if we look to the right, that looks like a new skull-shaped enemy base camp. There's going to be a lot more of these baddies in Hyrule now. And if you look behind the trees, you'll see another one of those green patterns on the grass that have been shown in previous trailers. Finally, let's talk about everything off in the distance, such as the long unknown structure we've seen before, a sky island that's close to the ground, and a large donut. That's awfully close to Kakariko Village. Well, if we wait about 10 seconds in the trailer, we'll see just how close it is to the village, and it's right next to it. It's the literal biggest difference between Kakariko Village and Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Not only that, but the shrine has obviously been removed, and there's another green swirly object in what was once an empty space. It also seems like the residents of the village have taken it upon themselves to investigate the rubble by building platforms to take a closer look. Now let's switch gears to another village, that being Hateno, which looks mostly the same as it does in Breath of the Wild, except for the tall structure on Mount Lanayru, and the place has been taken over by mushrooms. Lots and lots of mushrooms. I know Mario from the movie is feeling sick just looking at these. If I had to speculate, these might be decorations for a mushroom merchant of sorts that will sell you all kinds of fungi to fuse with your weapons. Remember the puff shroom shield from the gameplay video? You see my point. But on the outskirts of Hateno Village is the Hateno Fort, which, judging by the trailer, has been completely eradicated of Guardian corpses, but it looks like they're going to be replaced with other corpses. But let's go to Castletown Square, which looks mostly the same as it does in Breath of the Wild, albeit with 100% less Guardians and Malice. It also appears the Hyrule cleanup crew has literally just started to rebuild the place, judging by the tents, wagons, and storage pallets. Something tells me they're gonna have to wait a little longer to rebuild Hyrule. Thanks, Ganondorf. Moving on to Gerudo Desert, which can now be considered the Holy Land because of these sinkholes on Arbiter's grounds. I wonder, are these just death traps, or do they lead somewhere underground? Only time will tell, but off in the distance we can see another one of those green patterns imprinted on the mountains, some Malice, an enemy base camp, and this unknown object with what looks like a green door. Alright, let's conclude this comparison by talking about this sweet shot of Link flying high with a rocket in what's unmistakably Eventide Island. Only now it's being occupied by even more bokoblins, and they tore down the trees so they can build a fortress. I can hear J.R.R. Tolkien rolling in his grave. But those are the main differences seen between Hyrule and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. While the surface still looks mostly the same, no doubt the Sky Islands are going to provide even more secrets for Link to uncover in his journey to destroy Ganondorf again. Some things never change.